Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the evening session of the City Council meeting. The meeting is called to order. I'd like to ask our Deputy City Clerk to please call the roll.
Councilmember Kendrick is absent. All others are present.
Would you all stand with me and say the Pledge of Allegiance and followed by a brief moment of silence? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. All right, agenda changes. Staff, do you have any agenda changes?
No, sir.
Council? At this time, any person may address a matter within the jurisdiction of the City Council, Housing Authority, successor agency to the El Cajon Redevelopment Agency that is not on the agenda. Comments related to items on today's agenda are to be taken at the time that the item is heard. State law prohibits discussion or action on items not on the agenda. However, council, authority, and agency members may briefly respond to statements or questions, and an item may be placed on a future agenda. Jen, did we receive any comments?
No public comment.
Item 100 is for interviews for the various city commissions and committees. When your name is called, please come to the podium. You will have 3 minutes to share with us your qualifications for the position of which you're applying. The council may ask follow-up questions if necessary. Before we continue, Jen, do we have any speaker cards for this item?
There are no speaker cards, sir.
All right, let's start the applicants for Gillespie Field Development Council. There is one vacancy, which is set to expire in January of 27, and apparently Dennis Breslin has withdrawn his application.
That is correct, sir.
So let's note that. So that leaves us then with one application, Mr. Robert Davison. Sir, how are you?
Great, Your Honor.
Good to see you.
Good seeing you again. Mayor Wells, council members, I'm Robert Davison. I live at 14907 Montana Serena in El Cajon. I've had the honor of being on the Development Council for 12 years now. Currently, I'm the vice chair. I started Gillespie in 72 when I got my pilot's license there. I've been flying there ever since. I have an aircraft there. I'm part owner of 2 different hangars. I'm a contractor and developer, so I'm familiar with construction and land use and leases. I'm also a reserve captain in San Diego Sheriff's Department based at Astria Base. I'm very familiar with Astria Base at Gillespie and all its operations. And I think all these experiences make me fitted for being on the Development Council.
Okay. Let me see if there's any questions for you. Steve?
Wow. Yeah, it's just wow. The question I have is, the county last year implemented the Working Family Ordinance. Are you familiar with that?
Very familiar.
Okay. What are your thoughts on that and how it affects Gillespie Field?
The initial was really bad. The Development Council was 100% opposed to it. All the pilots and all the GALA, which is the Gillespie Aircraft Lease Association, so there's 11 leaseholders on Gillespie Field. They were all against it. All the people up in the industrial park were pretty much against it. We thought it was going to be really bad, but when it finally came back, after it was approved and it came back, it's a pretty much watered-down version. It is going to slow development because it really significantly increased the cost of hangars. Aviation is not, own a hangar or fly an airplane is not a profitable operation. Most people do it because they love the aircraft, they love the people, and they love being at Gillespie and being part of it. It's not a money-making operation. This will definitely slow down improvements and future development.
Okay. Very knowledgeable answer. Thank you.
Yeah. Yes, sir.
I don't have a question, but I just wanted to make a comment with regard to the development, the council's being a resource to the community. The last, I think, 2 or 3 years, we've had some tragedies around Gillespie Field with planes coming down in the surrounding community, and there was a big outcry and questions surrounding the community about why this is happening, is it related, things in that, and the development council, being, I think, majority of them aviators, had a lot of good information for the public with regard to the NTSB and the FAA. And so your work that you do, it's not just an idle council that you sit on. It's a working board. And so given your extensive knowledge and experience, I really wanted to thank you, because I leaned on this board's knowledge to inform the public during those 3 crashes the last couple of years. So it's not a frivolous job. So thank you very much for the time and the expertise and the work that you can do for the community in this seat.
Thank you very much. It's a good board. 3 of us are pilots. James Sly represents the city of Santee. He's on the development, Freeze County Development. He's been a real asset to the board. The other 2 members have been on probably 20 years, and they're involved with all the airports in San Diego, and their understanding and their background is amazing, what they can bring. There's a new seat coming up with you guys for the city of El Cajon next month, I believe. Dwayne Bardo is resigning and moving out of state, from what I understand. So there will be an opportunity to fill in our seat for El Cajon, and I'm sure there'll be some good candidates out there.
Thanks, Robert. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Okay. Anybody else?
No, he was the only applicant, so we just need a motion for a vote.
Okay. I make a motion to approve Mr. Davison. Please vote.
Motion carries by unanimous vote of those present.
Thanks very much. I think that we're going to be doing the swearing-ins at the next one of your meetings, so that your colleagues can see that and your family can come. Thank you very much. Congratulations. And as a special gift, I give you dispensation to leave and not have to watch the rest of the hearings. But you.
It was a very vigorous campaign, so I'm kind of tired.
Well, take a week or so off. You deserved it. Okay, then. If they were only going to all be that easy. All right. No applications were received for the Mission Trails Regional Park Citizens Advisory Committee. We'd like to remind the public that applications for all commissions and committees are received on a continuous basis and kept on file until an opening becomes available. Applications are available on the city's website, or you can call the city clerk for an application. Next, we'll be considering applicants for the Personnel Commission. There is 1 vacancy for a term to expire in January of 2027. And let's start with Mr. Chuck Kay. Hi, Chuck. Welcome.
Thank you. Good evening, Mr. Mayor, council members, city manager, and staff. My name is Chuck Kay, and I appreciate the opportunity to be here to share my qualifications and my reasons for wanting to serve as a member of the Personnel Commission. I grew up in San Diego County. I spent the last 2 years of high school here in El Cajon, attending Christian High. Some of my first jobs were here. I flipped burgers at the local McDonald's. I washed dishes at the Black Angus and made pizzas at Square Pan Pizza. Before beginning my career in public safety, I attended and graduated from San Diego State University. And after working a few years, I returned to school and earned a master's degree in public administration from National University. For the last 32 years, I've worked in both large and small police departments. I've had the opportunity to serve as a line-level employee, a first-line supervisor, a manager, and currently I serve as a department head. Members of the Personnel Commission have specific duties that require an understanding of administrative investigative processes and the need for strict confidentiality. In addition, Commission members have the opportunity to participate in the creation of new positions and reclassifications of existing ones. This type of work is important for a city that wants to stay competitive in the job market and have the flexibility to develop positions to attract the best candidates to do the most good for our residents and other employees. During my career in public safety, I have conducted internal investigations, investigations based on customer complaints. I have investigated allegations from one employee to another regarding gender or racial discrimination. I've also been charged with conducting and leading criminal investigations of employees. These investigations have involved employees working under different employee associations and groups. I have recommended discipline, imposed discipline, and in my role as a Skelly officer and department head, I have reduced and changed findings and discipline based on the evidence presented. I know and understand that those who work for the City of El Cajon are the most valuable asset, and the Personnel Commission plays a vital role in ensuring the rules are followed and the best decisions are made for the residents. As a resident, I would like the opportunity to volunteer my time and lend my expertise to benefit the City of El Cajon. Thank you for your consideration.
See if there's any questions. Questions?
Mr. Kay, I'll just call
Yes.
you. Do you have any conflicts with your current job that, let me back up. Sometimes in law enforcement, some cities investigate other cities to avoid a conflict of interest. Would you have anything at all that might?
No, I was very strategic, made sure I checked with my city manager, our city clerk, and our city attorney, and they don't see any conflicts whatsoever.
Okay, well, if those are the three people that say it's okay, then it sounds like it's, I mean, in Coronado's version, then it's okay. So I work with Chuck on the Sandag Committee, Public Safety Committee, and he is a leader in that area, so definitely a very strong candidate.
It's good to know.
You're serving the community out in Coronado so much. What makes you want to come to El Cajon and be on the commission? I mean, you're serving the communities in such a great capacity as the chief of police over there. But I'm curious, what brings you? What makes you want to do this?
I will tell you, I'm very fortunate to be in Coronado. I enjoy my position as a police chief. I do have the time, and I do believe that this would be an opportunity for me to understand some things that are going on in the city of El Cajon as a resident and also contribute the expertise I have.
Thank you.
Michelle?
I have no questions. Thank you for applying. They already asked all the good questions. Thanks.
Thanks, Chuck.
All right, thank you.
Mr. Edward Martinez. Hello, Mr. Martinez. How are you?
Good, thank you. My qualifications, I have a MPH from San Diego State University, 1972, and a Master's of Public Health from Yale University, 1974. I've been the CEO of 3 hospitals, 2 in San Diego, 1 in Las Vegas, and I retired from San Ysidro Health Center, which is now San Ysidro Health, in 2013. So I have the background in all the areas of running a hospital, finance, human resources, public relations, marketing, IT, what have you. So I've enjoyed my service on the Personnel Commission and would be interested in serving again.
Okay, let me see if there's questions.
What have you learned from your time on the Personnel Commission so far?
What have I learned? That a city such as El Cajon has a number of regulations by the state and local government for a procedure. And many things that are discussed at the Personnel Commission relate to policies and procedures. And one of our responsibilities is to affirm that there's compliance with what the law says. That's our job.
Thank you. Phil?
Well, I guess I'll just be consistent. You've already served a term. Why do you want to come back and serve a second term?
Well, for the same reason I volunteered for the first term. I've been living in El Cajon for 15 years now. I live in a community that is well monitored by the police, is well maintained by the public services. It's a great place to live and raise a family. And I think it's everyone's responsibility to give back to their community. And that's why I'm volunteering.
All right, thank you, sir. I appreciate it. All right, council, 2 good applicants. I'll leave it with you for discussion.
I guess I can start. I mean, both candidates have more qualifications than I have, so I feel a little out of place, making the judgment. So I'm humbled that 2 outstanding individuals want to serve in a voluntary capacity. Personally, I think Mr. K would be a great fit. Being in law enforcement, his ability to see both sides of an issue and investigate it, having an independent mind, I think would be fantastic for the Personnel Commission. Nothing to take away from Mr. Martinez and the time he's served. I'm sure he's served fantastic, and his heart for service is there. I guess bringing someone new on in Mr. K would be my choice. But we'll see where the conversation goes.
Anybody else want to say anything else, or somebody like to make a motion? Okay.
I'll second that.
Moved and seconded, please vote.
Motion carries by unanimous vote of those present.
Okay. Mr. Kay, congratulations. Thank you very much. Mr. Martinez, thank you for your service. You'll be informed when the next meeting is. It's not regular times, right? So we will let you know, and look forward to seeing you more. Now we move on to the Planning Commission applicants. There are 2 vacancies for terms to expire in January of 2027. Let's start with Derek Cardinale. Hi, Derek. How are you? Good. Nice to see you.
As well.
We've seen you before, haven't we?
Yes, sir, you have. Once or twice.
Good. That's good.
So good evening, Mayor Wells, council, and staff. Quick overview of what you'll be getting when I'm voted in for El Cajon's Planning Commission. My name is Derek Cardinale, a Marine turned realtor. I was born and raised in El Cajon, where I attended Steel Canyon High School. And after high school, I attended a year of college in Los Angeles, realizing moving from Hamul to LA was not for someone like myself. I quickly decided to follow my dream of serving my country and enlisted in the Marine Corps in 2007. I was in a tight-knit community of tanks where I served for 12 years until it was divested in late 2020 by the Commandant of the Marine Corps. I honorably served for 14 years and 11 months, but hey, who's counting, right? While serving, I deployed one time, which was in 2019, where I served in many roles, from platoon sergeant to company first sergeant, and then I finished up my last 2 years as a current planning operations chief with 1st Civil Affairs Group. I moved to El Cajon in 2013 when I married my amazing wife, Brittany. I now have 4 beautiful children, a 7, 3, and 1-year-old daughter, and a 5-year-old son. I first read about this position 2 years ago in the newspaper when there was a vacant seat that sat vacant for a while. And I thought, what better way to serve my community since I've already served my country as a Marine? As a civilian, I'm a realtor and have been for the last 7 years. I am currently on my father-in-law's team, Bob Kelly at Berkshire Hathaway. I love working with people in their journey of purchasing the right home for them and their family, and finding people their homes in our beloved community of El Cajon. I also hear about how the community could be developed in better ways to better the community as a whole. I have value in the seat of Planning Commission by using the skills that I've obtained in the Marines, as a realtor, as a husband and a father. I also attend Foothills Community Church, which, as you know, is in our community. I've also gotten involved for fundraising for youth ventures, as well as Turning Point USA Faith Chapter. I also sit on the Public Safety's Facility Financing Oversight Committee, or better known as Prop O Oversight Committee. I've also become more involved with the East County Chamber of Commerce and am a graduate of the Leadership Program, Best Class of 2022. Therefore, as I sit on the Planning Commission, I would put the community first and would love to advise you in making the best decisions. I look forward to earning my spot in the Planning Commission by preserving the integrity of the neighborhood while maintaining each individual property rights each individual owner property rights, thus serving my community the best that I can. Semper Fi, and God bless.
Okay, let me see some questions. Steve?
Derek, thanks for applying.
Thank you, sir.
So as planning commissioner, sometimes you're kind of an arbiter, a judge of hearings and permits and things like that. So in our alcohol program, I think the first time that they sell to a minor, it's a first level offense. I think it's a fine.
Do you mean the tobacco? Selling tobacco to minors?
Sure, let's go with that one.
Okay. Yes, it's a fine of $2,500.
Okay, and then two violations is...
$2,500 fine and 60-day prohibition suspension.
And 3 violations is...
You're done. No, 90 days
And,
or 4 months and another $2,500.
and is 4 you're done, or does it go to a
Then
hearing?
you're done. Then you're done.
Or does it go to a hearing?
Does not go to a hearing. They can appeal, but you are prohibited.
So somebody appeals to the planning commission and says, you know what? You yanked my tobacco license to sell because 4 times I've sold. And that the person comes to you. This is a question for all applicants, by the way, equally. The person comes to you and says, you know what? I've just had HR problems. It's hard finding people in this economy. In the past 2 years, I've had a lot of turnover and training, and I can't be there for everyone for every transaction. I really need this for my family, and this is how we make a living, and I'm really sorry that it happened 4 times, but I really need you to help me out and not have my permit yanked. What's going to go through your mind?
Well, for me, and as a Marine, as a supervisor in the Marine Corps, it was, a little more harsh. Obviously, your ownership of the Marines. Here, you're a civilian and ownership of your own. But I'm a big fan of 3 strikes. If you can't figure it out the first 2 times, something's wrong. That being said, the way it is now, I can't necessarily say what I would do right now because I haven't come across that situation. But
would you ask any questions?
4 times. I mean,
Okay.
is the person selling it? Are they just oblivious? Do they not care about their job? They got to do a better job at teaching and getting that through to them. If you did something 4 times wrong for the city, are you going to be held accountable? So I would probably go with what is in place now and revoke their right to sell tobacco.
Okay. All right. Just want to get a sense where you would come from. Because you would be put on the spot. You got to
Right.
push a button, yes or no.
Right.
Okay.
And mine would, at that probably point in time, would probably be no.
Great. Thank you for your thinking.
Derek's going to have to answer all these questions first, and the applicants get the
That's okay.
opportunity to to think about it.
Tip of the spear.
My question would be, how do you balance, or your thought process, let's say you're going to be making decisions for communities, and let's say someone wants to build something that the neighbors don't like. It's aesthetically, it doesn't fit with the community or whatever it is. How do you balance, or walk me through your decision-making process with how you balance the rights of the property owner versus the surrounding community? Walk me through your process. What is your thought process in making a decision, and like Councilman Goebel said, pressing a button and saying yes or no?
Absolutely. So obviously, each situation is going to be a little different. Each situation is going to be taken, differently. Just like each one of my kids, they get disciplined different ways just because they. But going back to property rights, freedom of property owners and doing what's best for the community as well. So again, going back, it's going to be situation pending. One thing I think of is Hamul and the 15-story hotel condo or hotel casino that they were wanting to build in Hamul for the longest time. It was going to be an eyesore. There's nothing like it in East County, other than the courthouse. So you want to do what's best for that property owner, and you're not stepping all over his freedoms. But then again, you want to do what's best for the community too. So putting a 15-story apartment building in Granite Hills isn't going to be the best thing for the community. So again, situation pending, but that would be my process in figuring it all out. Is one, we don't want to step all over the property owner's rights, but we also want to look at the community and see if we can maintain the integrity of the community.
Lou. So, gosh, I lost my train of thought. Question. Say, for example, you have a property owner that had a walkway, and everybody in the neighborhood has used that walkway for 30 years, and nobody had a problem with it. But now, all of a sudden, the property owner wants that property back. So now you have the community on one side that's saying, well, we've been cutting through here for 30 years. My kids have done it. My grandpa did it, blah, blah, blah. And then you have on the other side, you have the property owners like, I pay property taxes and I want my property back. Maybe they're going to extend their fence line, whatever they're going to do. Mm-hmm. There are going to be times where you are going to have to make a decision that is not going to make anybody happy.
Compromise.
It's going to be difficult.
It is.
How would you approach that type of situation?
Let's see. So, again, you're going to have to fight. Even you as a city council member, you're not going to make everybody happy, and you never will make everybody happy. And if you are, something's wrong. So, that being said, try and find a compromise. Maybe that walkway. Maybe he gives up half the walkway. Maybe we find a walkway around it that's not a mile out of the way. It's going to be hard, and I would at that point in time kind of lean on others who might have had similar situations. But yeah, it's just hopefully finding compromise, and hopefully level heads prevail.
And you know that there are going to be decisions that if you were to be on this planning commission, because I watch them frequently, that you're going to make a decision that's not going to make the neighborhood happy at all. And then they're going to go on social media and they're going to blast you. The planning commission doesn't care about our neighborhood. Are you ready for that?
Oh, absolutely. I watched the last planning commission where they're talking about the East County mortuary and doing a crematorium right there by Home Depot. And, it's not going to make a ton of people happy. but it's vacant land that's not bringing anything in for the community. You're not bringing in tax dollars for the community. And I looked at the renderings and stuff like that. And you're not going to notice. So, one side you're going to make people upset, but the other side you're doing what's best for the community as well. So, thick skin. As a realtor too. I knock on doors. I get the door slammed in my face. I get told no all the time. Just got to keep your head up and keep moving on.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you for coming. I appreciate it.
Thank
Just
you,
out of
sir.
curiosity, where did you deploy to?
We went to Jordan, Kuwait, spent a little time in Turkey, but mainly in Jordan, advising the Jordanian Marines. So I literally would look out my window, and to the south of me, about 500 kilometers, was Saudi Arabia. Across the bay was Egypt. West was Israel, and then, the surrounding desert.
About as hot as El Cajon?
A little hotter.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, a little hotter than summertime.
Thanks.
Thank you.
I hear you laughing back there from Coronado. Yeah. Okay. Mr. Paul Circo. Hi, Paul.
Good evening, City Council, Mayor, staff. It has been my pleasure and privilege to serve on the Planning Commission for 12 years now. I know. I had to look at my son and go, you were 2 when I started this. I would like to continue serving. I believe that in the 12 years I have begun to build a legacy for us in El Cajon. We have avoided making these big apartment complexes, and instead our housing element reflects our lifestyle. Single-family homes with smaller and smaller yards, I'm afraid, but we don't have any more land that the county is willing to give up. And so we have been doing a really good job. The city staff has been doing an amazing job researching options for single-family homes, and that's a legacy we'd like to preserve. I think we've been doing a great job on the commercial aspect as well. So our residential and commercial aspects are vibrant. Our city is healthy. What I would love to do is start building on our cultural heritage in El Cajon. We don't have a lot. I mean, we've got a lot of historic homes that are numbered, but not necessarily preserved at this point. We don't have any of our ranches anymore. The ranches have been subdivided, but I would love to help us to develop some of our cultural heritage as well in the city of El Cajon. And I want to continue to maintain our city as a place where I'm comfortable with my kids going to the park, playing, going to Parkway Plaza, hoping that our mall stays intact as a regional center. It's one of the few that doesn't have half the stores closed in San Diego. And as long as you see fit to allow me to continue serving, I intend to continue serving.
I see there's some questions.
Absolutely.
So flavored tobacco is now outlawed in the state of California, but there was a time when it wasn't. Mm-hmm. And let's say somebody's permit comes to you to say, can we sell flavored tobacco at our place?
Only to adults, of course.
So what, and that's a fair thing. What are the questions that you might ask in that situation?
When I was researching the proposition, I asked myself this question: who wants flavored tobacco? What's the target audience? Do people who really enjoy tobacco want to layer on all these other flavors? Fruit flavors? Candy flavors? I would be asking the applicant, I know we don't deal with money, but what's the motivation here? What market are you trying to get a corner on? Because there's no obvious market in my experience or training for these flavored tobacco products, especially when they are electronic style and disguised, other than students. So they would have to they'd have to have a really good justification for having any flavored tobacco products. But they are heavily regulated and now outlawed. So,
Okay. I asked you a different question out of fairness to Derek because his was cold, so I had to make one cold for you as well.
absolutely.
As I will the other.
Paul, thank you for serving.
My pleasure.
We served for a short time on the commission together. I'll ask you the same question that I asked to Derek. Walk me through your thought process and in the constant battle between the community and the private property owner, and how do you, in your experience, manage and make a decision in those situations?
We've had a couple of those decisions come before us. One notably was Tres Lomas. There was a developer who wanted to put in a couple homes. Well, a couple homes would have been okay. It would have fit the neighborhood. But he wanted to put in a lot of homes in a single-family street. And as much as I wanted him as a property owner to be able to do what he wanted with the property, it had to fit the surrounding area. And we went back and forth with him about how many homes he was willing to trim down to fit in the area, and he wasn't willing to give up. But the entire community was like, you can't do that in our street. So we told him no. The more recent one over in Oakdale, the property owner didn't want to finish the street through. I was not aware that this was on the city plans as a finished street. None of the surrounding property owners were aware that it was marked out as a city street. And so I kind of leaned in the direction that if there was any way possible to preserve the integrity of that neighborhood, to not develop the full throughway and instead put in a cul-de-sac, even though, unfortunately for the applicant, he had already spent all the money on the surveys and finding out how much it would cost to put in plans for this street. We advised him that he should appeal to you guys and say, hey, is it possible we could do this another way? Unfortunately, that appeal did not work because it's a city plan and it's been on the books. It's just that nobody has understood this is a street, it just hasn't been built, and the city doesn't build streets. That's something I didn't know when I started on the Planning Commission. I thought cities built streets and then owners are responsible for everything behind the sidewalk. But no, I had to rebuild my sidewalk when I added on to my house. The city doesn't have the money to build all the streets and sidewalks. There has to be some owner responsibility there. And so I think where I last saw him, they're going to go ahead and do the straight through street. And I feel bad for the applicant because he had bought the property thinking this is a nice, safe, secluded area for my kids to grow up in. But that's one of those where on the Planning Commission, we do have to follow the laws and guidelines that are in the planning zoning ordinance, but we also have the opportunity to shape them. And when we as a board feel that there's something wrong with those rules, we can appeal to the city planning department and to the city council and say, I think this is wrong, can we fix this? So it's important to be able to continue to have empathy for our neighbors, to build a community and see owners' rights, not as trumping everything, but for the importance that they hold. If we have no property rights, then why should we own property? And at the same time, we need to be part of a community. We need to work together. We need to cooperate. So sometimes the community's interest is served by denying an applicant, and sometimes the community's interest is served by allowing an applicant to proceed. In the case of the crematorium, I'd been advocating for a crematorium in East County for a while. I always thought that right across the street here was a crematorium. It was only later I discovered that all the steam I saw processing was from the dry cleaners behind them. I always thought they had crematoriums right there. So I was like, why are we so against this in the city of El Cajon? This is something we as a city have an opportunity to develop and become a regional center for. I mean, do we want to be known as the Valley of Dead Bodies? We are the coffin, after all. But I think that by approving the crematorium, we will have instigated some new business and some new visitors to our city who will come in and see all the trees in our city and go, wow, this is actually prettier than I remember it. I remember the first time I saw El Cajon. It was in the 90s. The city of El Cajon had a layer of smog, and I had only ever seen smog in LA before. I came in, it was hot, it was smoggy, I hated it. I told God I would never live here. Never tell God what you'll never do. I live here. I've lived here for 24 years now. I'm very pleased with the way the city has improved and changed, and I intend to see that continue to change and our city to become vibrant again. Okay.
Thanks, Paul.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Shannon Edison. Hi, Mr. Edison. How are you?
Good, sir.
Welcome.
I'm a little shorter. Thank you, Mayor Wells, City Council. I want to thank you for considering my application for the Planning Commission. A little bit about me. I was raised here in El Cajon. I went to Bostoni Elementary School, Greenfield Junior High, Granite Hills High School, and then from there I went to Grossmont College. After that, I opened up my own small business here in East County. I learned that you don't know what you don't know, from zoning ordinances to noise complaints to parking. I learned it's not exactly easy, but I made it through. We had the small business for approximately 8 years. I currently work for the San Diego County Probation Department. I am on the San Diego County Probation Officers Association's board. I am their current president. I am in charge of running their monthly meetings. I am well aware of the decorum, Robert's Rules of Order. My goal is respect. On my board, I like to hear everybody, excuse me, my voice is gone. I like to hear everybody's ideas. I like to hear everybody out. I want to hear the whole argument before we make a decision, before we even go to a motion. I love discussion, but of course, we all know discussion has to come to an end at some point. I also currently serve on the Retirement Medical Trust for the peace officers here in San Diego. I'm a director. I am also a director at large for PORAC, which is a state coalition. They also follow the Robert's Rules of Order. We meet with state legislators, and we meet with each other to keep cohesiveness. I'm also a member of SCOPO, which is also a state coalition. We meet with local agencies, and we meet with people in general from the state to keep cohesiveness and to keep relevancy. Very familiar with Robert's Rules of Order. The why that I want to do this. I was born and raised here, just like some of you were. My first paper route was here in El Cajon, and then it went on to, but that's gone now. But I also worked at McDonald's down there over on Main Street. So I've had a chance to watch El Cajon manifest into something that it's new. We used to be a city of a lot of apartments. We're trying to move away from that. I love it. I'm going to retire here. I have the time to do this. I have the energy to do this, and it's something I want to do. I've always wanted to engage with the community. I wasn't sure how, and I think as somebody else has once said that we had some appointments that were open for the Planning Commission. Why not? So I wanted to put my name in the hat, and I think I have the energy to do it. I have the time to do it, and I thank you for your consideration.
Thank you very much, Steve.
I'm just going, wow, 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 wow. Okay. Let's say there is a business that wants to get a conditional use permit in a part of a city that you're not sure that's a great fit for their type of business. They're manufacturing widgets. And you're not sure that widgets is a great fit for that location. what kind of questions, what you're thinking?
I would start with the zoning ordinances. I would start from there first. I come from law enforcement, so I start with the law first. What are we allowed to do there? If the zoning ordinance allows that particular business to be there and it doesn't fit the characteristics of the community, next thing you have to look at for me is compromise. I believe the land between yes and no is the world of maybe, and I think that there is a lot to be said for a compromise. If there is no compromise, as a commissioner, you must go by the law. That's why we have the law here. That's what we go by. In the end, at some point, a decision has to be made, as you guys are well aware. That's why you sit in that chair. You have to make some tough decisions, and sometimes a business, although it's a good idea, does not fit the characteristics of the community that it's in.
Okay. Thank you for your thinking.
I'll ask the same question I've asked all the applicants to you as well, with regard to private property rights versus the community and someone's home that they're building, that they're investing their own money in, versus the community at large. Walk me through your thought process on how you resolve that conflict or some of the questions you might ask.
I'm a firm believer private property is private property. You pay your property taxes, you pay the mortgage, it is your property. However, that does not make you king of the kingdom. That doesn't make you king of the neighborhood. You have to show compromise. If you are wanting to do something on your property that does not fit the characteristics of the community, come to the community, like I said, the world of compromise. The land between yes and no is the world of maybe. Again, that is why the commission is here. At some point, the hard decision just has to be made, and sometimes it's not the popular decision. 23 years in law enforcement, I believe that, you get the thick skin, you've heard it all, but in the end, this is something you asked to do, so you sit in that chair, you take it, but you stand on your beliefs, your morals, your decisions, and most importantly, the law.
Thank you.
Hello.
Hi.
I think that being on the Planning Commission gives you an opportunity to decide one way or the other certain businesses that come in. Allowing, I won't say alcohol license, because those are few and far between, and those can be bought and sold, I suppose, from what I understand. But there are certain businesses that I think we are overrun with. This is just my personal opinion. I'm not going to pick on any one industry, but I think that we're overrun with certain ones. So where do you see El Cajon? How do you see El Cajon progressing towards the future? I mean, National City. Let's take National City, for example. We all know, any of us that have grown up here in San Diego County all know National City as, the mile of cars. And, you've got lots of cars, car dealerships. Let's see, Mira Mesa has its, a lot of industry up there. Not Mira Mesa, Miramar has a lot of industry up there. Certain areas of the county have concentrations of industry. Some could be bars, some could be restaurants, Korean stores, car dealerships. Where do you see El Cajon going? How would you like to? And because your background is not in real estate or architecture or anything, where would you like to see El Cajon kind of move towards?
You're right. That is not my forte. However, I've lived in El Cajon my whole life, and I have seen where the community used to be and where it's going, and I love it. Something my dad would tell me if there's an apartment complex, son, and I don't mean to pick on one particular, just as an example, if there's an apartment complex, son, you're going to see a liquor store there. I don't think that's right. I don't think that's good business. Sometimes, you follow the law, but at the same time, if you can do it, should you do it? Is there a compromise? Is there a better place for it? We should not be overrun with any particular business because it sets a bad precedent, because we're looking to be different in El Cajon. When I was growing up, El Cajon isn't the El Cajon that we see today.
Right.
I think we've come so far because we're showing diversity. And to me, if we're showing diversity, we're not pointing out one, like alcohol, for example, or a bar, or anything. We're not pointing out one particular store or field saying you're bad. We're just saying we have enough here. Again, it becomes difficult if the law permits it.
Right.
That's why I believe in compromise. We don't want to do this, but are you willing to do this? And I think a lot of times, when you stay in that land of possibility, even realtors, even though they have their mind set in one particular place for their own financial reasons, you might be able to find something better for the entire community. And I think ultimately that's what all of us are trying to do.
I have seen El Cajon change a lot. I remember when we used to have Lamb Chevrolet, and next door was the Pussycat Theater.
Correct. Correct.
So, I've seen El Cajon grow from, a lot of biker bars and I don't remember strip joints, but we had the Triple X Theater, and it was El Cajon, though. This was hometown. And so I have seen a lot. We've cleaned it up. We've got a great downtown. We're bringing in a lot of new business. And, so thank you on your thoughts on that.
And just one other note I would like to add to that. With every business brought in, I come from law enforcement. Is it safe? Also, is it safe? Because every business brings in a certain characteristics. And for El Cajon, we've come so far. Let's keep going to where we work. I delivered papers. To see where it's come is wow. You guys are doing a fantastic job, and I do thank you for your time and consideration.
Thank you.
Thank you very much for coming. And Ms. Valles, Elizabeth Valles. I see you've broken yourself. On vacation, I hear.
My birthday gift to myself. Okay. Well, I'm Elizabeth Valles. I have been on the Planning Commission for just under 2 years. I filled the last vacancy that had come up. And I really have enjoyed my opportunity to serve the community in a new way on the commission, and learned a lot through that process. And prior to that, I had been part of the East County Homeless Task Force, chairing the Youth Solutions Committee, and being part of the Shelter and Housing, getting to partake in the point-in-time counts, where I actually did interviews with the homeless, and helping, with all the different organizations that went through there. But it really has been a great opportunity to serve on the Planning Commission, and getting to know more of the staff, and working with the staff and seeing the process of how something goes from someone's idea in their mind, whether it's a business that wants to come, or someone in building, or planning an activity that they need a conditional use permit, and seeing that process through and how it comes, and seeing both sides of it, the person that's presenting, and then maybe the public that might be either speaking for or against something that comes in. I work at Rady Children's Hospital as a nurse practitioner, and I love doing that. And as part of my degree, I have a doctoral degree from USD, is that it was all about creating projects, starting with an idea, seeing a need, starting with an idea, reading through research papers, which is very similar to reading through some of these plans, finding your stakeholders, and putting together something that shows that what your idea is going to be a benefit, and then bringing that whole thing through to fruition. I do see how that has helped me in coming through some of the presentations. I feel like I bring the unique idea of safety and health and wellness to our, to the projects that are presented, because I'm not necessarily looking at it through a real estate lens or a business owner lens, but a resident. I've lived here over 20 years, but also for the safety of the children and even the adults that I care for. And I've been really happy to see that we've increased a lot of our healthcare offerings here in El Cajon. So that's been a great thing. Someday we'll have a hospital here. But I really have enjoyed it, and it's really been a great honor to serve with my fellow commissioners on the commission here.
I'll go first, Steve. Thank you, Elizabeth, for serving. Appreciate it. And thank you for coming, even with a broken wing, as you described it, toughing it out. I'll ask you the same question that I asked everybody. I'm curious what your thought process is, what your worldview is, and what your vision is for balancing and trying to determine, the age-old question, private property rights versus the community at large.
Well, we have had some interesting decisions since the time that I've been on, where it's someone in the community that wanted to do something and the property owners either being for or against. And it is always a balancing act. It is first looking to see what does zoning say, because if zoning says you can't do it, it kind of makes, it sort of makes the decision easy for us because we can't go against this, the zoning and things like that. But if the zoning is there, then we do try to listen to everybody's side. And sometimes there have been compromises that have been presented by commissioners saying, well, what if you made this minor change? And that, would the other people that are here presenting, maybe would they be amenable to that? One of the things I think of recently, well, I guess it was last July, was actually the fireworks that Shadow Mountain was going to have. And it was a great celebration. People had been locked up for 2 years, and they were going to get to have this great celebration for 2 nights for fireworks that was right around 4th of July, but not on 4th of July. So some of the surrounding property owners were concerned that have horses and animals that are very jumpy, and these are animals that you can't just put them in your house and turn on some loud music to block it out. So they of course, shared their concerns. But of course, Shadow Mountain also had some compelling reasons as to why they wanted to do this for the community. I think given more time, Shadow Mountain would have made some adjustments so that there might not have been as much noise, but they were under some time constraints as everything got brought to the commission. But at least they got some food for thought if they chose to do this again in the future. But we did go ahead and side with the organization because they were within their rights to have this, I think everybody had the opportunity to share what they wanted to share. We've had the other one. I know that there was the situation with a property owner that had the thoroughfare that had been there forever, and they did want to do something different with their property. And that was hard because everyone came and said, well, but we've been walking on basically saying we've been walking on your yard for all these years. Our kids go to school this way. So it's hard because you have to say to them, that was a great benefit that you had, but it is this other person's property. Is there something different that can be done? It wasn't, I think that had to come down to the property owner making the decision, not us telling the property owner, well, you have to let these people cross your property. So I think we put it in a way that we help even the applicants or the public come to their decisions as well by helping them understand the process. Because before I was on the commission, there's a lot of things I didn't realize were part of the process. The property that Mr. Circo brought up, where there was the thoroughfare, I would have thought, well, why would they make them do this? And truly, part of that disclosure was on the seller, so he could have gone back to the seller. They should have disclosed it, but it was there in the plan for the city. So it does kind of open my eyes. Well, if I'm going to do something, I should do my due diligence and make sure I know what the plan is for the city too. So, I mean, it's really kind of an eye-opening experience. Sometimes we're educating as much as we are trying to be compassionate with people. I'm just going to give you another example. You don't even have to ask me a question. Another example we had was Aldi. We were all very excited about Aldi coming into Parkway Plaza, another grocery store. We really need it. And they thought they had the solution by having a liquor license in a different area that they could bring down. Well, we found out through staff and through the attorney's office that you couldn't use that particular license. So a lot of us had the discussion, but a grocery store is different than a liquor store. That's not their predominant business. Can we look at maybe treating Parkway Plaza as a little bit different area than just, regular streets. And we're able to so we had to vote against all these at the time, but they were able to bring it forward to have that area designated as a regional center to change so that they would be allowed to have a liquor license there. So that, the grocery store would have still been there, but that now they can have some beers and wines that people could purchase when they're purchasing their dinner. This was not about somebody going in to buy their Colt 45 in a paper bag. So I think that we've brought forward different great opportunities for people to think about it, make their own changes and alterations when needed, but also follow the rules. And really, we've had some great projects in the last almost 2 years that I've been on the commission.
Anybody else need to ask questions?
She answered mine. It was, what difficult decision have you had in the past and you explained it all. So,
thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, council members, leave with you. This is not so easy. Rarely have I seen 4 people as qualified for 2 positions as we have here.
I can start.
Go.
Okay. No one wants to start. I'll start. This is the best part of the job, I think, because I get to see, the people in the community that want to serve it, just like I do, and they have the heart of a volunteer, which is what I look for mainly. And I don't think we can make a bad decision. So that being said, I have to make a decision, like each of the applicants said. So I'll start off. There was a couple people that stood out to me, and one of them was Paul. Paul has one of the notes that I saw was one of the notes that I wrote down that I saw that Paul stated in his responses that he has a vision for the city. And he has an understanding of the city's assets, and that was very profound. And I don't think many people have that vision for the city. New ideas on where to guide the city, and his decisions, I think, are going to pour through that. And also, he has an understanding of the city's assets. That's fantastic. Doing his own independent research, I think, was outstanding. I've heard from staff that he's an outstanding commissioner. When I was on commission, he was outstanding. And he also mentioned something that I liked was he could change, if there's something that's not right in our zoning or in the law, we can move to change it if it makes sense. I love that perspective. And the last point was he's interested in being a good neighbor and having the people in the community be a good neighbor. That's what stood out to me. The other person that stood out to me was Derek, mainly because he's applied for this, I think, at least one other time. He's currently serving on the oversight committee, along with Patrick in the back. And correct me if I'm wrong, that's not a standing room only type of committee. So he's faithfully serving, doing the hard work that no one wants to do. And I think that deserves to be rewarded once in a while. And he also said looking for solutions. Part of his answers were being a good neighbor, not making a judgment before the facts. When I went to the Commissioners Academy through the League of Cities, one of the things that stuck with me, they said a good commissioner doesn't make any decisions before he's heard all the facts. And I think Derek instinctively knows that. The other thing that impressed me is that he's already watching planning commission meetings, and no one's asking him to do that. He's watching them or attending them or after he puts his kids to bed, I guess he's watching them in all his free time. So those two people stood out to me for those reasons, not to take away from Elizabeth or Shannon. They were both outstanding, but those two people stood out to me.
I could put all 4 of these in a stack and pick 2 and win. It's solid. Paul has been just a tremendous, consistent voice of advocacy for building in El Cajon. And boy, you can just count on him to understand, evaluate, question, good judgment, solid. Derek has passion for this city that few people have. And he's very involved in the chamber, volunteers with the oversight. You certainly want somebody on your commission that has passion. Dr. Valles is you just listen to her explain things in a very eloquent way. And boy, am I glad you're on the commission. Mr. Edison, your resume is so impressive, and your leadership is very strong. I mean, PORAC is a statewide organization, and to have responsibility and leadership there, and your explanation of just how you think and question is strong. And to be a probation department, that's got to be one of the hardest jobs on the planet. You're not working in customer service. It's like working in returns the day after Christmas. It's one of the hardest jobs you could do. So you've got my utmost respect that, man, you've got the temperament for a planning commissioner, which is great. I, too, as a paper boy, I lived on Sharon Way and Fletcher Hills, and I had Hacienda and Windmill View and all this Brockton, all the streets behind it, and getting up at 4 a.m. and stuff. So go paper boys, So I like all 4 of these. I could go with any 4. I'll go with the consensus.
Yeah, I feel the same way. I was also a paper boy. Not that it gives you the edge, but but we didn't hear about the paper experience of the other applicants, so that's not quite fair. So no, here's the hard part here is there's certainly 2 schools of thought. In one school of thought is we've got 2 planning commissioners who there's not a mark against them. They're excellent. Somebody's doing an excellent job. Why not reward them with continued service? Another school of thought would be, well, let's mix it up. Let's run people through the process. Let's let other people get involved. And frankly, something we didn't talk about is that historically, planning commission is the breeding grounds for the people that end up running for city council. So it's good to have more people go through that process, especially with districts. Now it's more complicated to have a spot open up in a district where somebody's available that lives in that district that has some relevant experience. So the more people we go through the process, the more relevant experience we have. Having said that, I have no idea what to do. I think, somebody, I was talking to this young person recently who was trying to decide between being a police officer and a firefighter. And I said, in the end, there's really no bad decision. You're going to be fine either way. Both decisions are a good decision. So it's not really, and Chief, don't say anything back there. I had to tell him that.
Both chiefs.
Oh, that's right. But in the end, there's really no significantly bad decision we can make tonight. So leave it open. We still haven't heard from Michelle. So
Thank you. Like everyone else said, we've got some excellent candidates here. Derek, I have spent some time talking with Derek at a VECA event and was impressed with his leadership skills. Paul and Elizabeth, both of you have served well on the commission, and as the mayor said, no marks against you. Shannon, very impressive, and I think that you would bring something, you bring that hometown growing up here. I was not a paper boy, but I helped my brother. He was a paper boy, and I remember stuffing papers in bags when it rained. But anyway, I think that we've got excellent candidates. That isn't always true. We don't always have really good candidates coming out for these commission spots. But something that the mayor did say that I agree with, and he brought it out first, so I'll follow up with it. I believe that we need to bring a lot of citizens through. We have 105,000 residents here, and of course, not everybody is, going to want to run for city council or any other position. But I think that we need to have our citizens have that opportunity. And bringing someone new on gives them that opportunity that we don't always have. And so my choice would be for Derek and for Shannon to bring in some new blood, just to give them that opportunity as well. Nothing personal for anyone else, but just to bring in. I'm the new person on the block here, and I've only been in office for 2 years, and I was someone, I didn't go through Planning Commission, and I have had to learn a lot. If you do get on Planning Commission and do decide to run for office later, it will give you the basis that everybody else who did go through the Planning Commission first garnered that experience. And so I believe in running citizens through and having a city government and having our departments run by the citizens. And so that's my decision, and that's why I'm making that decision.
Michelle?
Sir.
Under discussion, I'm wondering if it might make sense to take this one at a time. So, because sometimes you may like one of those people, but not like the slate. And if you'd be willing to, I'd be interested in taking these one at a time and then voting for the second person after that. Open for discussion on that.
As in,
making a motion to choose one commissioner and then making a motion to choose another commissioner.
instead of both at the same time, is what you're saying, right?
Yeah, unless anybody have objections to that.
So I guess what you're saying is you're just opening it up because really the municipal code says it's your appointment with the approval of the city council, but you're saying I don't really have a strong feeling I can
we've never done it that way. I want this to be a council decision. I'm just wondering if it puts somebody in an awkward position to have a slate as opposed to taking each person individually.
I think it's smart. I'd be okay with that, personally.
Steve's thinking it over.
I'm thinking it over because if you choose one, I can go with the consensus. I don't have a firm opinion.
It's up to you, Michelle. It's your motion. You can stick with the two. It was just a thought.
I want to be the odd one out.
You know what? That's you're getting to that point where you I think you might enjoy that.
I like your idea.
Yeah, we'll just do whatever you say.
Then
I'm good with that.
will you call my wife and explain that way of thinking?
She's going to charge me one of these days.
Yeah. So then, why don't you make a motion then for one of your candidates?
Okay. I would like to make a motion that we appoint Derek Cardinale to the position of Planning Commission.
I'll second that.
Let me think for a second on that. I want to think what the ramifications of all that is. If you say no to any candidate the first time, it means they remain in the pool for the second time.
Yes.
That's a little twist.
It is a little twist, yeah. But you're free to also make a substitute motion.
I am going to make a substitute motion.
Interesting.
I'm going to I like Mr. Edison, so I would be on my slate. So I'm going to move that we approve Mr. Edison.
Okay.
Second that.
A substitute motion is on the table. It's been moved and seconded. Please vote.
Motion carries by a 3-1 vote. Phil Ortiz votes no, and Kendrick is absent.
Okay. Somebody like to make another motion?
Yeah, I'll move to reappoint Paul Circo to the Planning Commission.
I'll second that. Please vote.
Motion carries by a 3-1 vote. Michelle Mitchell votes no, and Kendrick is absent.
Thank you, everybody. And Elizabeth, thank you specifically for, first off, all the work you do for the kids in the community, taking care of the little ones, and then for taking care of the planning commission. I know you probably nurse them most of the time. I really, seriously, we very much appreciate it. I was on planning commission. I think Phil was on planning commission. It's really hard work. Luckily, the pay is super high, so makes it worthwhile. But thank you so much.
Thank you.
And Paul and Shannon, you'll be sworn in at the next planning commission meeting that you attend, and somebody will be in touch with you to talk you through that process. And sir, thank you. Thank you for your service to the Marine Corps. I know you're going to be back. We're going to get this done. There's lots of openings all the time. Thank you. All right, we are down to the last one. The Public Safety Facility Financing Oversight Committee. We have 3 vacancies and 1 applicant. And again, I remind the public that applications are accepted on a continuous basis for this committee. And Mr. Patrick Grillo, am I saying this correctly?
Yes. Yeah,
Grillo.
thank you.
He is our sole applicant at this time, so you're on.
Thank you. A little bit of a palate cleanser for you, maybe after 3 vacancies, 1 applicant. Good evening. My name is Patrick Grillo, as the mayor said, and I'm currently a member of the Public Safety Facility Financing Oversight Committee, which is a mouthful, but it's the Prop O Oversight Committee that's still around, because even though the tax has expired, because we're still kind of overseeing the expenditure of the remaining funds. So I've been on the committee about 2 years. I myself have lived in El Cajon almost 3 years now, and have enjoyed the opportunity to serve the city and the community to make sure that the funds that we do have remaining from that tax, those revenues, are expended on the appropriate types of projects, what they were intended to be used for, what the ballot proposition authorized them for. So we've, as the mayor also alluded to, or I think it was Councilmember Ortiz, it's not packed houses for these meetings, not a lot of fanfare. I think we've have about an annual meeting. We'll probably be having another one, I think, this spring. The current project we have that we're mainly overseeing is at the fire station over on in Fletcher Hills on kind of Westwind, I think is the address there, and finishing that up as well, expanding it, the only one that hasn't really been renovated. I've also taken interest to kind of learn on this position as well. I attended the open house that the fire department had in the fall, just kind of see the facilities. It was a great opportunity to just, informally, casually talk with a lot of the staff, hear what they, like, see the equipment, things like that, get a firsthand perspective on what's needed in the department, and looking forward to continuing to do that going forward. I've also been serving as vice chair of the committee for whatever that's worth, which is nice. Not a lot of meetings, but have taken an interest in that and looking to continue serving that. And hopefully we'll wrap it up here before my term expires with the remaining monies that we have. And I welcome any questions you have. I hope we wrap it up before
Questions? You're not going to grill him tonight? Okay.
not going to Grillo him tonight? Is that what you're
Oh, that's you deserve.
I know.
You
Growing
deserve
up,
it just on that. Yeah. Okay, thank you.
I have no questions. I just want to thank you, Patrick, for your job on the commission currently serving. You are the type of person that doesn't always get the accolades, because you hold us, and I'm sure your superiors, you hold their feet to the fire and you hold us accountable. And that is what citizens want. Citizens want their elected officials to be held accountable and to have transparency and to account for what we do. And I think that that's commendable, because I know that I want my elected officials that are above me. I mean, I hold myself accountable maybe. But I want my president and my senators and assembly people, I want them to answer to me and to explain their decisions. And you're the type of person that does that to us. And I appreciate that. I mean, it's what it should be. And so thank you very much for doing the job, because you've grilled us here recently within the last few months. I'm like, dang, why did we put him on there? But it was good. And so thank you.
And thank you, Councilmember, and thank you for not, hopefully not holding that against me, and appreciating the accountability, and I know you all do. So thank you.
Okay, thank you, sir. Appreciate it. Before you do that, I want to ask staff. First, I would ask Mr. Cardinale, would you be interested in applying to for this position for this?
He's on it already.
Oh, you're already there.
One of our faithful attendees.
Well, can we give him 2 seats? Double pay.
We need to fill 3 other spots, so yeah, we'll give him 2 seats.
So
well, you have 4 kids? Okay, we'll bring him over.
But his term doesn't expire, though. Your
That's
term
correct.
is still
He's still on the commission.
Yeah,
the committee.
I for some reason I've forgotten he's on the committee. I was just thinking he's such a good candidate. It would be a shame to let him walk out of here and not be on the committee. So.
Well, no, I'm glad that you brought it up.
Okay.
No, I think it was good, because that's exactly what I was going to ask. It's like, well, is he off the commission now or whatever? And let's just put him back on. So thank you.
Okay.
Are any of your kids paper boys? That would.
Well, I make a motion to appoint Mr. Griot back to the committee. Second. Please vote.
Motion carries by unanimous vote of those present.
All right, this brings us to adjournment. The adjourned regular joint meeting of the El Cajon City Council, El Cajon Housing Authority, successor agency to the El Cajon Redevelopment Agency, held this 24th day of January 2023, is adjourned until Tuesday, February 14th, 2023 at 3 o'clock p.m. Thank you all so much for taking the time out of your evening to come and serve your community.